advertising is the fastest way to lose money. It is 100% designed to take your money as fast as possible, and Google is the worst. So I've actually Google had an internal advertising team when Google search first started. I hired them, I learned a lot from them. I also learned what not to do. And they're an example, that internal team is an example of somebody who will take your money and not help you. They send all these postcards out saying, here's people looking for you in your neighborhood. You should do this. Here's $500 of free advertising. Just spend $500 and we give you $500 for free. And all $1,000 of that is all garbage. And we see it all the time. So I finally, when we decided our company, we said, every time we work with a company, our goal is to guarantee performance. That's why, and the reason I can do that is because of the possibilities with digital marketing. We couldn't do it in the past 20 years ago. I'm sure all of you guys have had experience with dealing with digital marketing in the past. Even some of you I talked to today have done some every door direct type of thing. But first, let's just start off and say, if you have a website that's active right now, can you raise your hand? So it's about half of you. Okay, how many of you have actually ever done digital marketing before yourself without another company? 1, 2, 3. Okay, and how many of you have ever hired a digital marketing company? Okay, so about half. All right, great. All right, so in general, we have always operated off that same mentality as understanding that digital marketing is a component, not of marketing per se, because marketing's purpose is to communicate outwards, and we call that MarCom or marketing communications. But digital marketing is this new age in the last 20 years that has become hybrid between marketing communications and lead generation. And you guys often will think of it as lead generation. I've heard those words. But the difference is that it's beginning to bridge the gap between traditional marketing and the past, which was outbound messaging, like, hey, I'm over here, sending postcards, putting out press releases, doing that sort of thing, to generating phone calls. And that gap between includes the initial part of the sales process. So when you hear someone who's talking about, oh, I want to bring people in and I want to spend time up front educating individuals, that's something that you can do with digital marketing. You can build automated processes that make sure it educates an individual during that sales process in order to make sure that you can close way easier. So we've seen sales close rates for people that are not the owners. The owner operators are a little bit different when they do sales, but an actual salesperson that's separate from the owner or the executive team. And we've moved them from a 20 or 30% up into the 50% range. And it was all about pre-framing or positioning ahead of time. So imagine this. Somebody signs up for an estimate on your form, on your website or some way that way, and then automation kicks off, they start to book it, and now they're receiving text messages or emails that have linked to testimonial videos, right? So they're beginning to understand, not only are you building authority, but they're beginning to understand a little bit more about the trust factors and other people that use you. And as you send more testimonial videos or educational videos and that sort of thing, by the time they get face-to-face during an estimate, you already can potentially have a relationship and have established your authority. Does that make sense? That's the process that digital marketing is taking today. So I'll give you a quick background just about myself, who I am. Some of my favorite people are up there. That's my wife and my kids. I love God. I love helping people. I'm married with 3 kids. I'm from Pennsylvania. I started working with Google in 2006. I had a genetics company. I've had a variety of different companies, and I spent over $1 million with them myself personally and buying advertising, and hardly got any return whatsoever. So I learned through failure and the process of improvement. And now I'm 20 plus years into working in digital marketing. I sit behind a desk. I don't look like a climber, I know. I'm a Wharton graduate. I went to the University of Pennsylvania. I am on my 20th year. As I mentioned, I've worked with hundreds of businesses. I own 2 agencies. One that's a global agency. We service customers all over the world, large technology companies, that sort of thing. 3 years ago, I decided to go into the tree care business. So we built an agency that all we do is we specialize in tree care. We had a client, we wanted to specialize. We loved the space. And so my team and I started working only in this space. That's it. I started going to ISA events, I became a member, and I went to the TCIA, started learning more about the industry and what you guys do day in and day out, and I ended up loving it. So I've actually Google had an internal advertising team when Google search first started. I hired them. I learned a lot from them. I also learned what not to do. And they're an example, that internal team is an example of somebody who will take your money and not help you. And really, we literally spent $1 million and got $80,000 back in revenues. And the entire time I was like fighting with them. I'm like, I'm not making money. This is not working. At the end of the day, why spend money on advertising or digital marketing if you guys are not making? There has to be a return on ad spend. There has to be a return on investment for marketing. That's been my position. I was in your guys' position hiring ad companies, losing money hand over fist. So I finally, when we decided our company, we said, every time we work with a company, our goal is to guarantee performance. That's why, and the reason I can do that is because of the possibilities with digital marketing. We couldn't do it in the past 20 years ago. You could not guarantee that we're going to be able to help people and that sort of thing. So digital marketing should be from that perspective of those guys coming in and helping you. Today, what I'm going to focus on is, I'm going to assume many of you have never used digital marketing before. So today is what we're going to go over, and here's our agenda. We're going to talk about understanding who your audience is. We're going to understand a little bit about digital presence, about SEO. We're going to talk about Google Business Listing, which is your listing on the Google Maps area, content marketing, social media, email and text, networking, partnerships, tracking, advertising, a little bit about AI, and then also some guerrilla marketing tactics. My goal here today is to give you everything that you can do. Most of it is free, that you don't need another company for, you don't need any of those sorts of things, so you could get yourself off the ground, start generating customers as fast as possible, and for it to not cost you a penny. At some point down the road, you may want to bring somebody in-house that can take over those programs, and then they can start working them a little bit more than someone who's up in trees all day long doing this in the evening. But for today, that's what we're gonna focus on. So let's get started. So the key really, before you do anything else, and we've heard a lot today about, understanding who your market is or who your audience is when you're actually on site with a homeowner, is to begin to understand by neighborhood, by the type of person, who are you actually speaking to? It makes a huge difference. It's not only in the sales process, but it starts with the marketing. And it starts really understanding, what are these people, what do they understand first of all, and what are they actually looking for? And you can do that a lot better, as we've heard today, by listening. So you guys are already in the marketplace. Start to listen, start to pay attention. What are the things that trigger your folks? Are they all people that are just low cost folks? Or are they people that are actually looking for high quality engagements as well? Are these folks that care more about their trees? They care more about their gardens? They care more about the aesthetics? Do they care about the health of it, their trees and their environments outside, and how their houses are actually looking? Or are these folks that are simply like, I got something that I want to get rid of, and I'm just out there bargain shopping to see who's the cheapest person out there that I think that I can trust to get it done. Does that make sense so far? Now, a couple of things I wanted to bring up that we see all the time are not identifying when people have trust issues, or if you are a perceived authority, or if you have a guarantee. Those are three things that we see that really significantly affect or increase the amount of effectiveness of your digital marketing that you're doing. The first is that a lot of folks out there don't have a sense of trust when they're hiring a home service company. You guys aren't alone. It's HVAC, it's plumbers, it's anyone that's coming in to do home service work. So immediately they're looking for reviews. Reviews are these things that have taken over the last 10 years, especially with Google reviews, these other sorts of items. If you don't have a lot of reviews already, you can go out to your email list or your previous list of folks and start to generate reviews. And the highest level of trust that consumers have right now around reviews is on Google. So even just getting set up on Google and then going to your old base, calling them, emailing them, that sort of thing, asking them if they had a good experience, could they leave you a 5-star review? If they say yes, starting to collect those. That will change the perception that people have, because they see Google as a third-party authority in how they look at you from, are they going to trust you? Well, other people have trusted them, and look at all these 5-star reviews. It may seem obvious, but without that, you're really taking 50% of the effectiveness of your digital marketing out if you don't have Google reviews or other types of reviews out there. And also what we've done is we've taken snapshots, made pictures or little icons of those reviews, and sent them out through email. If somebody does a request for an estimate, we'll send out reviews in that manner, like I mentioned before, not even video, just snapshots of those reviews to help them build that trust before you actually have that engagement. Make sense? Perceived authority, how do you guys change that? How do you make sure that you're seen that way? Well, you guys can publish on your website, not only, the different types of licenses and those sorts of things that you have, but anytime you're doing engagement, if you have commercial engagements, one of the things is that if you have a municipality or a large organization that you're doing work for, make sure you get pictures. Make sure you get some sort of pictures that you can utilize that talk about the fact that you have contracts with these large organizations or with government organizations. Having something like that sends that perceived authority of, one, you guys are in regulatory compliance, you're doing things the right way, larger organizations trust you, and that begins to establish your authority within the marketplace, and also that perceived expertise. If those guys are hiring, that sort of thing. So one thing I want to make clear right off the bat is never use deception. Never try to create a persona or something like that, because in these days it can not only be smelled out, but it's devastating to your business. So get those contracts with larger organizations and then get permission to take pictures or in a way to market that sort of thing, and that will position you a little bit better. The other thing is a guarantee. We often can't guarantee in your business. It's a little bit, it's challenging to guarantee the results. I mean, if somebody hires you to cut down a tree, you cut down a tree, that's the results. But sometimes we see organizations that have a satisfaction guarantee, and they'll actually outline what's included there. And plant healthcare might be a little bit more challenging, but at least with trimming and removal, we've seen organizations that will offer a guarantee. I see that as super valuable because as you're moving through the process with somebody at the very end, if you feel any sorts of resistance in the sales process, having that guarantee allows you to not only close it, but up front during the marketing process will get somebody to start saying, well, these guys offer a guarantee. I wonder why such and such or the other competitors don't offer that sort of thing. Even if it's just a satisfaction guarantee that you're offering to folks. Does that make sense? All right, let's keep going. So building an online presence, these are the things that you can start off with. First of all, I have for all of these, the links that you have here, I have some printout materials here for you guys that have everything in there. And if you guys want one of them afterwards, I'll give it to you. And I also have electronic copies for anybody that wants them. So if you see anything listed up here, I've already got it down for you. But first of all, you can set up a free website, and they're pretty good. If you want to set one up, go to wix.com. Hostinger also has one. There's a variety of folks out there that have them. Just getting a single page up there like a business card changes, you go from night to day as far as people's ability to trust you. So that's one of the things that you can do for free for sure. When you want, if you're starting a business or you're even a new division of your company, there's actually a really cool tool called the Business Name Generator at logo.com. It's super cool. I actually went in there and in 30 seconds, I put Professional Tree Service Dallas, which you can see in the lower right-hand corner here. And it came up with some great names. Lone Star Trees I thought was a pretty cool one. I really like that, but it will give you lots of free ideas or good ideas, even if you're trying to develop product or other types of services, and if you want to come up with some names for that. Logo and brands, you can get them. I would say use Canva. Canva.com is a free application. There's, of course, a paid portion, but I would use Canva.com. It has an AI logo generator. It's really good. And you can, in probably 10 seconds, get 20 or 30 logos, and then you can modify from there off of it. And it's all free. It's fantastic. And I would use it also if you had, again, other types of products, or if you're expanding your services, you can also use it there as well. Social media, I would start with Facebook. Instagram is probably second. I would also do a LinkedIn page, and then make sure you set up your YouTube page. So you won't get a lot of leads from LinkedIn, but having a personal page and a company page on LinkedIn sets you apart from the guys that are, just two guys in a truck. If you have an actual corporation, if you have an established business, having a professional page there, if somebody goes and Googles you and that pops up, it's night and day. It just makes you look more like a commercial organization from, somebody who's just doing this on the side. So I highly recommend LinkedIn. It's really good with reputation and setting yourself apart from the authority. The other thing is that if you are in charge of your business and you do set up a company page, make sure on LinkedIn that you put a bunch of pictures there. I was talking with Tim, and I saw a great company shot he had of all the people and their trucks and equipment. Make sure you include those types of pictures on there. It really changes a lot of the way that people perceive you. So don't just slap up your logo. Make sure you have these and put them across platforms. All right, most of you, how many of you guys have ever produced a video of yourself and put it up on the internet? I got 4, 5. All right. It is really hard to get over the hump to start doing it. And it's really easy to do once you do it one time. And for anybody that's under the age of 40, they're looking for video more than they're looking for static media of any sort. So being out on a job and having your camera, almost every smartphone today has a good enough camera to produce any type of video that's out there. And so just like what that gentleman's doing, holding it out, just like this and saying, hey, we're out at such and such we're out at a property today, or we're out at this kind of location, and we're taking a look at, check out that tree. That's what we're gonna be working on today. And then doing a second one, which is an after, just hitting pause or stop and then having an after. We got the tree down, it was a lot of fun, or even filming it as it falls down, that sort of thing. And then showing a successful transaction that occurred, and then taking that and posting it. It's that before and after that you get from there creates a significant amount of trust with folks out there. They're looking for that. They're looking for those sorts of things. And you can take that, put it up on YouTube, and with a little bit of probably about 10 minutes of research, you can see how to put that onto your website. If you have a free website on Wix, you can upload videos or upload a YouTube video very, very quickly, very easily. Might take you 10 or 20 minutes to figure out how to do it the first time, but afterwards, they're a cinch to do. So I highly recommend video. Even video that's not well produced, it doesn't have to have an intro. It can just be you and you standing in front of your truck talking about it. Or even when special events are happening. Hey, everybody, today is National Tree Day. Today's Arborist Day. All the different types of holidays that are out there within your industry that you can think of. You can produce a lot of content fairly easily. Do you believe me that it's easy?
Yes, put that.
This is how easy it is. You pull your camera out of your pocket. You go to the video portion and you hit record, and then you start recording. And then you hit stop and you say, that was horrible. Don't watch it, because you'll be like, I can't believe I just did that. And then just keep doing it. It takes about 10 times until you get comfortable with it. Nobody starts out the first time and gets it right perfectly. But the more that you do it, the easier that it gets. And then you just kind of get over yourself. And that's really the key. But I highly recommend video. You can put your videos up on Facebook, you can put them on YouTube, you can put them on LinkedIn. Video is increasingly, I highly recommend, even if it's just, videos of you standing in front of a tree and then hitting stop, and then you standing in front of a tree that's been felled. You're good. Make sense? All right, let's keep going. SEO basics. How many of you have heard of SEO before? How many of you know what it stands for? The real easy way to say is that you get found when somebody's looking, right? That's it. Somebody, a homeowner, a business, they're gonna be looking for your services at some point, and you wanna come up, you wanna show up. And the higher you are up on the list, the more calls you're gonna get, the better, that sort of thing. But remember, people can search for all sorts of stuff. They can search for tree felling, tree cutting, tree removal. They could search for emergency tree service, how to remove a tree that's on my house. Does insurance pay for a tree if it falls on my garage? There's a whole variety of things that people can search for. And the idea around SEO is being found when somebody searches for that. And SEO in general is free, so that if you put a page on your website and it has those keywords that they're searching for on that page somewhere, and there's a couple of little tricks that you do to it, but the idea is you'll be found when somebody's looking for it. Now, more importantly, today on your phone, when somebody does a search, especially if they're doing a search for a company like Tree Service Company, or they're looking for, or near me, or they're looking for a tree care company, or remove a tree near me, something like that, Google will not only show a couple of ads at the top, but they'll show a map. And you guys know that little map, it's showing businesses that are nearby where you are? Well, if you drive 10 miles down the road and you do the exact same search, you're gonna get a different list of companies, right? And so this process is what we call local SEO, which we're gonna get into in a second. So you have SEO, which is your website, and local SEO, which is appearing on those maps. So depending on where the person is, Google's gonna show different companies. And the companies that are in the top 3, they're gonna receive the lion's share, 95% of all the phone calls. So local SEO is a really, really important thing, and that comes from being set up with your Google business listing. So in here, it's optimizing your website, making sure that you're found, making sure that you have your website set up with all of your city, your state information that's on there. Make sure you include your name, your address, your phone, your services that you do on your website copy. There's something called website metadata, which is your title and description for each page and for your website. You can also add your website to your social media profiles. So on your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, your Instagram page, and also on your YouTube page. And then you want to get a Google business listing and you want to add that to your website. If you do all of those things, people are gonna find you locally, especially if you have your address, your company, your address, your phone number on your website. Google sees that and immediately starts to index you locally, right? So if I'm here in Orlando and I do a search for tree service versus if I'm, down in Miami, I'm gonna see different results. If I put up my website and I don't have any localized material on there, Google has a tough time of knowing where you're located. So by simply localizing your website, making sure all of those things are on there, talking about neighborhoods, talking about the city that you're in, talking about the local flora and fauna, that's gonna change everything. People don't talk about palm trees in North Dakota. They just don't. So putting palm trees, that you trim palm trees, that sort of thing, Google will then recognize that that's something you could show locally. And when people search for that kind of stuff here, you'll be more likely to be found. Make sense? All right, making a lot of sense. Zooming through. All right, so this is a Google Business Profile. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier. So Google Business Profile, to give you an example, we had a 7-figure company that came to us, old school, lots of referral business, a couple of municipal and counties. They're the 7 figures, meaning they're over $1 million in revenue. And they came to us and they were getting somewhere between 20 to 30 phone calls a year off their website and their Google listing. They didn't have their Google listing set up correctly, so it wasn't showing up, and their website had no traffic on it. So they came to us and immediately we started making changes. And the first thing that we did is we went and updated this Google Business Profile. And through a series of process of what we did for them, they went from getting no phone calls from this to between 300 to 400 phone calls a month just by making the changes here. Now that was the summertime, but still 100 in the spring and 350 in the summer. It revolutionized their business. This is the primary area that you can go in, and 90% of this you can do on your own with your own education and just by going and watching a video or two on YouTube. I highly recommend that when you go in, you look here and you can see this is Orlando. I have this set up here with Orlando, and you can see Tree Amigos is there and they have their reviews. And then this is what the map looks like here. So you can kind of pick somebody if you're further east or west or north or south. And then if you notice over here, they filled in their information. So they have their website listed up at the top. You can see they have all their services that they do listed. They have pictures, they have videos, and they're collecting reviews from there. It's like a free website that Google is promoting you. Now, I want to just stop for a second and help you guys to understand the difference between when you're up at the top or if you're in the maps and somebody finds you when they go to Google. Because when somebody makes an introduction, like I had my bio read, right? The person that's making the introduction establishes your value or credit to the audience, right? So if one of the previous presidents of the United States walked in and said, hey, I know I'm not an arborist, but I got to tell you, this guy knows what he's talking about. And he introduced me and said, I came to the White House and, fixed everything up on their website and their marketing. You guys would be like, wow, this guy, versus somebody who you don't know introducing you. The same concept is happening subliminally when Google refers you. So when your ranking's higher, Google has determined that through their algorithm, which is about 500 different items that they have, that they are determining that you should be ranked higher for a specific search in a specific location. And that process of them sticking you in the top 3 here when somebody searches for a major metropolitan area is an endorsement, right? And it's the #1 search engine in most of the world, not in China, but in the rest of the world. And the #1 search engine in the world is endorsing you for that area, for that job. So this process that we have with SEO is not only making sure you get found, but it's an endorsement. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about AI a little bit later on, but one of the things I want you to understand is this. Today, if you go on, this was taken from a laptop, the screenshot here, but if you do it from a phone, there's a little button here that shows a phone number. And when somebody calls that phone and they click on that button on their phone, Google is tracking that. So if they list you up here and they call that phone number and you don't answer, you get a red mark. If that person calls and asks for a service that you have listed there, right? And you say no or whatever, it's a short call, or then they come back and leave you a 1-star review, Google is looking at the full feedback, right? If they call you off of one of these listings, they can't record or listen to it, but if you call from an advertisement, they're recording and listening to the entire conversation. They're checking those conversations for quality. Now, even if they're not recording the entire conversation, if they know that I went and clicked on this number, because they can see it on your phone when you click on their properties, and then I went to Apollo, I clicked on Apollo's business, I called Apollo, and then I came back a week later and I left a 5-star review, right? They're seeing the entire closed feedback loop now, right? And they're tracking all of this. So they're gonna say, hey, I wanna endorse Apollo more, because when we endorse them, Julian goes there, or any other customer goes there, clicks on them, has a great experience, 5-star review, so much so he's willing to leave a review and be public about his opinion of that company. We're gonna promote them even more. So it's not just getting the reviews and having the reviews up there, it's making sure that when people are finding you through Google or through Google advertisements, that you're answering the phone, you're providing the services that you say there, you're actually doing them, then you're getting reviews from those people and getting those people to promote them back on here as 5-star reviews. That entire closed loop, and the people that do that just shoot right to the top. Why? Because people are having a great experience. Google wants everybody who uses Google to have a great experience. And so they give you an endorsement. Make sense? All right, let's keep going. Here's something else you guys can do for free. You can do content marketing. So we talked a little bit about sending emails, if there's new diseases, if there's new things that come out, if you're doing plant healthcare, if there's an infestation of bugs, if there's a variety of different things in your business that are going on, you can send an email out and it's free. So creating content, you could do the exact same thing. You can go outside into your yard, stand in front of a tree, and you can film yourself talking about the infestation of ladybugs, right? Right? I heard that ladybugs are good for you though, right? But it could be either way. You could talk about what's going on in the same way, post it onto YouTube, and if TikTok exists in the future, you can post those sorts of things and you can create content in the same way that you can write an email and send it out. So you can make sure, you can put it out on your blog. You get a Wix website for free. It comes with a free blog. You can write about it and you can say, the upcoming infestation of certain beetles in Florida, what you should do, or how to prevent your trees from, being killed by the upcoming beetles in 2025. You can do that, create 2 paragraphs and put it out there, start creating that content. And if you don't like writing, do video. If you don't like video, get a teenager to help you with your business. I'm not kidding you. Just tell them what to say, have them stand up there and they'll say, my dad said to say this, and they'll do that, and then that thing will blow up and go viral. So do lots of videos, and then as soon as you have the videos, add them to your social profiles. And you wouldn't believe how people love to hear tree folks talk about anything related to trees or gardens or beetles or diseases or whatever, insects, and it will get shared. You'll put something up thinking that, nobody in your part of Florida is interested, and all of a sudden you've got, 1,000 people that have watched this video and leaving you comments saying, yeah, me too, I was worried, that sort of thing. The other thing is that creating content for social media, you don't just have to do videos, you can just do an update about a certain thing that's going on. This guy did this is his thumbnail. This is what shows on the video before you play it. And you can take a screenshot of this and put it inside of your email. And then somebody will click on that thinking they're gonna get to watch the video, and it takes them over to their YouTube channel where they can watch the video, right? But they can also watch the rest of your videos. But look how he did this. I mean, it creates a wonderful amount of, intrigue, curiosity. If somebody's not in the industry and they see, there's a crane in the background, I mean, it looks ominous, they might identify this. I was just saying, I have a couple of pine trees now that are twice as big as my house at lunch. I was telling Charles about that. And, having a video like this, now they put an arrow pointing to the tree, gone in 5 minutes. This is great, what we call clickbait, right? It's putting it in and telling the fish to bite, right? Taking this is a little more advanced, but give yourself a year or so to get to these sorts of things, right? It doesn't have to be on this level. You could be a little more professional, but you can make sure you create something that's of interest. Because remember, social media is about being social. So it's talking about things that are interesting, not just pushing your company. So establishing this. This is for social media marketing. I want to just show a couple of examples of real easy types of things. These are 2 pictures, not a video. There's a before, and there's an after. They put it together. You can use that canva.com that I talked about for free, put them together and create a new picture. Take you about 10 minutes to learn how to do it, watching a YouTube video on how to do that on Canva. And then once you know how to do it, you can slap before and afters together. number one highest performing types of images on social media are before and after pictures. It doesn't even have to say that you're good. It implies that you're good. It doesn't have to say that you're affordable. It implies that there's something of value there. Before and afters are the way to go. And of course, you guys have seen this before with remodeling companies and those sorts of people that, have anything on social media. They should have this horrible looking basement or this horrible looking, mold mess or this horrible looking bathroom. And then the new one that looks so wonderful. So it's not a new trick, but it's a way to apply it to the work that you guys do, especially if the environment looks really good afterwards. Other types of things that you can do weather or timing. If you have a big storm coming up, sending out just a post telling everybody to be careful of your trees. If you have a tree that looks like it's going to fall down, call us today to come out and do an evaluation. We'll give you a free consultation if we need to remove it before the hurricane hits in 2 days or something like that, right? Those types of posts are great, and especially if you are offering a free consultation around that. If you have any offers or specials, you have things related to the season that's coming up, spring special. Hire us to come in and trim your trees before March 1st and get 20% off. Before and after pictures we talked about, customer and partner testimonials, I highly recommend. If you're even working with other companies or other landscaping companies, or you have anyone else, ask them to see if they would be willing to give you a testimonial, written or on video, and you can post those on social media. Of course, customer testimonials afterwards are great. We have a guy who's really good at this. One of the things he does is as soon as he's done taking the tree down and cleaning up, he says, hey, would you be willing to give us a quick testimonial? It takes 5 seconds on my phone. And he gets people that say yes. What do you think of the job we did today? Well, I think they're great, that sort of thing, blah, blah, blah. And he just leads them with 3 questions. What would you tell the people that are thinking about hiring us? Good, they did a great job, that sort of thing. Are we affordable? Oh yeah, I'm totally happy with it. Thanks so much, and that's it. He doesn't even get on the camera, just gets someone to do that, 15, 20 seconds, uploads it to Facebook. Now he's got a customer testimonial. All free. You guys can do this, a little bit of effort. And again, if you can't, get a teenager to help you. All right, and then you can cross post between platforms. So the first thing is if you post something on Instagram, you can post it on Facebook. You post something or put a video on YouTube, you can then copy that and put it onto Facebook. So just make sure you don't just stick with one platform. It's really easy, it only takes another 30 seconds to cross post between them. Email, text message marketing. This is one of the lost arts out there today. We all use text messaging. We all prefer text messaging, but we don't want to get sales related text messages. And I don't know if you guys were like me, but I got like 400 text messages during the election cycle. It was horrible. And there's all these spam features now on my phone that automatically are loaded. So they ruined text message marketing for all of us. Collect the email and phone numbers of every customer and every lead. Don't forget to do that. So we all have clients 8 years in business, 10 years in business. They'll come in and we'll say, okay, great, let's see your customer list. And they'll give it to them. They're like, oh, it's all on paper. I'm like, okay, well, how many do you have on paper? Maybe 600. I'm like, you've been in business for 8 years and you have 600. Like, it's not just that it should be bigger, but every person that ever called for an estimate, they're a fair target. You should be getting their email, you should be getting their phone number. In every other business, when you go in and you ask them for a quote or for something, they're like, okay, great. Can I have your phone number? Or if we get disconnected, what's the number I should call back? You've heard that before, right? Where can I send, what email address should I be using to send this quote to? Goes right into your CRM, whether you have Jobber or Arbor Gold or whatever, whichever one that you're in, single ops, you should be collecting it. And then you should notify. You should designate whether they're a customer or whether they're a lead. But guess what? They all still get email marketing from you. All right, that list should be deep and wide. Emailing is free and it works. Make sure during the process, if you're collecting their information, that you have something on whatever you're doing, your website, on your email, on your forms for your estimates, for your invoices. It always says all information. By giving us your information, you're allowing us to be able to market to you through these platforms, especially the phone numbers. Text message marketing is the most powerful form of marketing that we have out there. It's also in 2025 going to be the most highly regulated form of marketing that is going to be out there, more so than even commercials on television. And it is because people are upset, and you can get fines up to $10,000 per text message that you send if it's egregious. So you want to be really careful about it. You send a text message to somebody like, hey, I was out there, from your personal phone saying, hey, we were out there last year, just want to see if you need any more work. Probably a very low chance of you getting fined for that. But mass text message marketing has to be done in a very specific way. It has to be opted in, and there has to be a lot of value behind it. Otherwise, not only will they put you to spam and block your phone number, but if you get reported on any of the platforms that you're on, you can lose text messaging across the board. So be very, very careful with it, but I highly recommend you learn how to use text message marketing. Don't blast low value emails, you get put in spam. Same thing with text messages. Always have an offer, very high value in the emails. Text message marketing is there. There's new FTT guidelines like I mentioned. I want to just be very clear. Sending an email that says, hey, remember us, if you need any work this spring, contact us. I think that's a really low value email. Offering 20% off, right? Or doing something where they're saying, come in and let us trim your trees and we'll plant one for free. Yeah, free tree, right? We'll plant one for free, or we'll plant one in Brazil for the rainforest. If you need a tree removal, we're planting trees. For every tree you remove, we're planting one there. And there's, ways that you can do that. Having something like that is much more valuable, and you're less likely to be put into spam. And on top of that, I would say if there's an alert, I've seen guys that just send out alerts. Alert, beetles coming to town. Alert, flash freeze coming. Alert, high winds, right? You wouldn't believe people love it. They're sitting home, they get an alert. Oh, there's a high wind. You never know what's going on, right? Right? Not everybody sees that stuff on the Weather Channel, but getting an email from their arborist or the tree service company about high winds, you wouldn't believe it. It's just really great to line it up. You get up in the morning, you look at the weather report. If it says there's winds over 30 miles an hour, you send out an email and say, hey, just want you guys to all be careful today. Make sure there's high winds tonight, blah, 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 big storm coming through, whatever it is. Thinking about you all, let us know if you need an estimate, on a tree or something, or rather, you can always put that at the end. But make sure there's value inside of the things that you do. Got it? All right. Networking and partnerships. I know this stuff is obvious, but a lot of times people don't do it. First thing is, it does take up your time, so it's not free. But getting involved in other type of local service, referral, or networking type of groups is a great way. Those people understand they're all trying to sell to. Everybody's looking for a referral in those organizations. But if you get into one of these NMIs or different types of these networking groups and you're the only tree person, believe it or not, I know folks that will get 5 to 6, tree removal jobs a month just from that. Especially in the summertime, it will go up. And that's enough. That's enough to take care of, the next level for them of being able to bring on somebody or another person and kind of start to expand. And these things don't cost that much, but it does cost you time. I would also say you can go to coffee shops, restaurants, and grocery stores, and with permission, you can put up information there about your business. So we see folks that will go up and put up flyers, they leave their business cards everywhere that they go, and they pick up phone calls. And they stay busy with that sort of stuff, right? Partnerships between landscapers, roofers, insurance adjusters, municipalities and counties, and being an approved vendor, all of those folks, a lot of folks don't even think about it. Call up the roofers. Roofers are out all the time. Gutter companies. And say, hey, I want to be your tree service, or your tree removal service of choice, and work out whatever deal you want for the referrals with them. And it's another way of getting free business and consistent business, especially roofing guys, because they're always pulling leaves out of gutters, right? They just say, you should get this taken care of. We got one. Here's a card for this tree care. They come in and trim it for you, right? You can get that kind of business very easy. Tracking what works. This is a famous quote here. 50% of my advertising really works well. I just don't know which 50% it is, right? And the truth is that unless we're tracking something, it can't get measured, right? So learning how to measure these sorts of things. So there's different ways to do it. The first thing is every platform, every advertising, every flyer, everything that you're doing, put a different offer code on it. It can all be 10% off, but you can say, mention ice cream, mention green leaves, mention, diseased bark, whatever you want to put on there, and then write it all down where you put it, so that you know what platform or where it's on. In other words, if you're on Facebook and you're putting things, have a code for Facebook. Tell them FB10 and you'll get 10% off. So you can use that for offer codes. But that's an easy way to track things. It's old school. You don't have to do anything digitally. You want to always ask leads when they call. When somebody calls on the phone, that's great. Where'd you hear from us? And write it down. Write it down. Don't just, I talk to guys all the time. They say, oh, a majority of my leads come from there. I'm like, how do you know? They said, well, that's what my customers tell me. I say, really? Do you ask them all the time? He said, yeah. I said, well, do you write it down? They go, well, no. I said, so you're just kind of your gut instinct. And the difference is when we have people start writing that sort of stuff down, it's completely different from what they remember. We're all biased. If we want it to be from a certain location, that's what we remember. So write it down, build a habit. Whoever's answering the phone, if it's you, whatever, keep a pad of paper or a little pocket, something where you can write it down. put the person, however you would keep track of something like that, and then write it down. How did you hear about us? Really, really important. So you'll start to know where to put more emphasis on there. I mean, think about it. If the majority of the people that are hearing about you because of these grocery flyers that you put up, maybe you just go to a few more grocery stores and double the amount of leads coming in, right? But if you don't actually keep track of that, you won't know to go and make the effort to go and drive around to a few more places, right? Something to think about. Make sure you're also reviewing it monthly. I forgot to mention that. Don't review it at the end of the year. That doesn't help. Review it at the end of the month. That way, if you see a trend, you can improve on it. And the last thing is that Google Analytics is free. If you sign up for Wix, most of these have an analytics. Take a half hour and learn how to use website analytics so that if you ever do want to talk turkey with someone, you know what you're talking about. This is how many people came to my website. This is how many clicks I got. This is how many times they clicked on the call button. These are the ones that are coming from Google. These are the ones that are coming from referral sites, from Yelp, or from wherever else. All right. Advertising. Why, where, how, when. I recommend advertising for anybody that wants to scale. Advertising is the fastest way to lose money. It is 100% designed to take your money as fast as possible, and Google is the worst. They send all these postcards out saying, here's people looking for you in your neighborhood. You should do this. Here's $500 of free advertising. Just spend $500 and we'll give you $500 for free. And all $1,000 of that is all garbage. And we see it all the time. People are telling us, oh, we tried Google and it didn't work, that sort of thing. I highly recommend, if you are going to do advertising, make sure you hire someone who knows what they're doing. Make sure that they are performance-based. They have some sort of guarantee that's going to increase your business or generate a certain amount of phone calls. And you will see that 90% of them will say no. But people that know how to do advertising, they know how to do it, especially if you hire somebody within the niche, within a vertical. There's lots of good companies out there that just do tree service companies. They know what they're doing and they can give you a guarantee. So keep that in mind. But when you're doing advertising, it's no longer an endorsement from Google. It's a cold lead coming in. Most people know it's an ad. It says sponsored up there on the ad. So people know that you paid to be there. So it's a cold lead. It's not a referral. It's not somebody you've worked with before. It's not somebody's aunt who referred them. It's not any of those situations. You're not on a list of approved vendors from someone. It is a cold lead. Cold leads have to be worked. They have to be cajoled. You have to get in front of them. You have to build a relationship with them. You have to build trust, and then you have to close. And you have to present value the entire process through the sales process. So leads are hard, right? They're completely different from somebody calling you in and saying, hey, yeah, you took care of my neighbor's yard. You guys, I want to know if you can give me a quote for my tree. They already love the neighbor's yard. They already seen your performance. They know what your job looks like. So they're ready to buy from you. Now, all you have to do is just not screw it up. Completely different when you run ads. So ads requires a sales process on the other side of this. Google is the highest intent area. We see a lot of folks that will contact us and say, well, so-and-so said that they could do ads for me on Facebook and it's really inexpensive. And I said, that's because people who are on Facebook or on social media, they're not looking for tree service. They're looking at pictures of their grandkids. They're looking at, ex-girlfriends. They're looking at people from high school, whatever's going on, all that kinds of stuff. Then they happen to see an ad about this. What do you think was the response? They're like, oh yeah, there's that tree in the back. I should get an estimate for it, right? They have at this point, they're not invested in this job at all. So you're gonna get a tremendous amount of tire kickers, and that's why it's cheap. But when you go over to Google, if somebody has a tree that just fell down on their driveway, they're not going to Facebook or Instagram to find a tree service company. They're going right away to a place where high intent searchers are going for, and they're going to Google for a referral, for Google to endorse a company to them, and they're typing in tree service near me, or fast responding tree service companies, or affordable tree service companies, tree removal companies, whatever. And what comes up is who they call. High level of intent on Google search marketing. Start very small, test to see what works, improve, scale, then do it again. You start, increase it a little bit, you test, you improve, you scale. Plan on 3 months of doing something like that, and also remember what the season is in Florida. I know you have 3 and a half seasons here. So you can get a little bit more work out of it, but if you're further north, you really only have like 2 or 3 seasons that you can do this with, and everything changes by season. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about is about buying leads. So as people are thinking about, hey, why should I do advertising when there's all this risk to that? Why can't I just go buy leads? There's lots of companies that will just sell me leads. They'll sell me a phone call or sell me a batch of postcards, and I'll get phone calls through that and that sort of thing. In fact, I recommend that to people who are just starting out, who don't have a runway. They're not really worried about having a consistent pipeline. They're not trying to grow their company. They just want a quick hit of something. Easy way to do it. you tend to get medium quality. You don't get high quality through it. You tend to get low medium quality. There's usually no guarantees. You get fluctuating kind of results. Maybe you spend $2,000 and your phone calls are coming in at $150 a call, or maybe you spend $2,000 and the calls are coming in, at $75 a call. Either way, you might work with somebody who says, no, I guarantee that the calls won't cost more than $50 or cost more than $75. But then a lot of the calls that come in are people from advertising companies calling you saying, hey, I'd really like to sell you some SEO services, So there's a varying qualities, and that's the pros and cons with buying leads. It's a great way to start, but you're not building your own brand. And you can see over on the right side, there's a community service announcement. Build your own brand. Build your own brand, build your own brand, build your own brand. At the end of the day, if you're in this to build something that you can eventually sell, you want a name. The more that you advertise, the more that you do your own digital marketing, the more you do that sort of thing and become a recognized name, the more value that you can have as a multiplier when you go to sell your company anyways. All right, so build your brand. And building your brand means you got to do a good job, and you got to get reviews and get testimonials. And the more of those that you get from doing a good job, the more that your brand goes up, and the more that you push those testimonials and the good jobs and your reviews out there, the more that when you do advertising, it works better. We'll take a new company that doesn't have a good established brand with no reviews and run the same ads as a company that's been around for 20 years and everybody knows who they are. They have 190 5-star reviews on Google. And guess who does better with advertising? Somebody who has a brand, a recognizable brand with reviews. Their ads will outperform the exact same ads over here 2 to 1. Make sense? All right, keep going. All right, all of this here is a prompt down at the bottom. So this is AI. AI is ChatGPT. Who here has ever used ChatGPT? Wow, early adopters, I like it. All right, who here doesn't know what ChatGPT is? 1, 2, 3, okay. Basically, but you can talk or type to AI now, ask it questions or ask it to produce something for you, and AI, it will interpret what you're doing and produce that for you. That's the bottom line of what it is. They call them LLM, which is large language models, which means it can understand what you're saying and almost instantaneously give you a result, even hard math, calculus, all these different types of things. And so a prompt is simply what you're asking it to do. So you could say, hey, write me a blog post on, what good tree service looks like, right? That's a prompt. Or you could say, you're an excellent copywriter and you're writing for a website owned by the premier arborist in Orlando. I want a blog post that's about how to do good tree service in the Florida area. And I wanted to include things about mangroves and palm trees and what a good cut looks like, what a bad cut looks like, types of people to watch out for, and the types of licenses that they should have. And I want it to also be at least 1,000 words long. And if there's any other, news articles about this sort of stuff, I want you to tell me about them so I can include them in there. If you have any questions, ask me. Much longer prompt, right? But that is going to produce something amazing compared to the other one that's going to give you something very general, right? The more specific that you are. And especially if you ask AI at the end, ask me any clarifying questions before you do it. 5 minutes? All right. Right? So that's something that you guys can go through and look at. I highly recommend you start to use it. The number one thing I would say is something you guys can use it for free is you can have it help you with social media posts. So I have a prompt here that actually goes through all this. You just put your own information, your location in there in between the brackets, and then it will take you through all of this stuff here, and it will produce 7 social media posts that you can use on Facebook. You tweak it, keep working with it. And with this, in a matter of 10 minutes, you can have a post a day for an entire month on here. Now, again, I have that entire prompt listed here for you, and I have these digitally, so you can take it and try it. You copy it, paste it, put your name and your city in there, and then give it to ChatGPT and watch it spit out stuff for you, okay? Traditional guerrilla marketing tactics, these are my favorite. These are some special ones. You guys are the first to hear about this one indeed. This is, of course, have business cards and leave behind postcards every time you go to a place. Second thing is door-to-door marketing before, during, and after a job. So you land a job, get there, an hour or two earlier, say, hey, we're gonna be working down the street. If you guys have any concerns, let us know. And of course, if you have anything, let us give you an estimate, right? Then during the job, if it's a multi-day job or a whole day long job, during lunchtime, you guys can go and don't use the time just to sit around. Go hand some flyers out. We're here, we're helping your neighbor, so-and-so. If you guys have anything, let us know. And then after the job's done, if you want to take pictures or something rather. These are the things that I really love. The bandit signs there, but you can do not only vehicle advertising, but magnetic business cards that you can actually have people take off your vehicle. I know a guy, he did nothing for marketing except put magnetic business cards all over his van, and whenever he went downtown, he would park in a place where everybody would walk by and they would just peel them off. So he had something on there that says, please take one. And here they were just like that, magnetic business cards. And he had a big sign, this one's kind of small, but a big sign that says, please take one for tree service. Had them all over. And here's another example over here where you could stick your business cards and close it and people can come take them off your vehicles. So I love this one. I mean, you could stay busy your entire year just with this idea, especially if you can get your vehicles around a public area. Again, free. Getting is $10 for the vinyl to put on there, and then the magnetic business cards. I have a couple of links to printing sources where you can get cards for free. You can get magnetic business cards made for less than $1, all sorts of stuff. This is the free resource list here. If you take a picture of that, you'll have a little form to fill out, and then you'll get access to this. I'll email this to you, which has places you can do all these things that I've mentioned and everything for free. It also will have your prompts for AI that you can use in ChatGPT or anywhere else, a variety of other types of printing places. These are all really good deals that I've found, like the magnets for 85 cents each. You only have to buy 100 of them. I also have a book coming out and releasing at ArborFest. So this is using digital marketing. If you want a free copy of it, you can fill out that form. You just scan that there and I'll send you a book for free, be on Amazon. And it's just a lot of this stuff, but in detail what we covered today. All right, that's it. Any questions?
So you have a client. Let's say I want to start advertising with you. You can't tell from stage. Let's say I want to hire you. And a competitor local to me also wants to hire you. Do you have things in place so you're not putting two competitors against each other in the same market?
Well, let's take me out of the equation. And let's say, you're talking to any digital marketing agency. So the first thing is that let's say in a city like Orlando, there's probably 10,000 phone calls a day that are for sale through advertising. So unless I have a client to me that comes and says, hey, I have, like a $400,000 a day budget, there's zero chance of there being some sort of conflict of interest. Zero chance. Even within the same small town, we've had one tree service company come over and say to us, hey, my buddy's starting up a company. Can you help him too? And there's just enough work there. And the reason is, if you think about it this way, if I have a $50 a day budget, right, which is gonna end up being $1,500 a month in advertising alone, and I get one or two phone calls and it uses it up, now my ads are not showing anymore. And if anyone calls after, those two calls are done, having your competitor's ad shown, he getting those two calls, it didn't affect you at all, right? So really, in an advertising scenario, there's really very low chances of having a conflict of interest. But a digital marketing company that's doing SEO for you, different story. If you're both trying to be number one for Tree Service Orlando, and I'm working with you, 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 now I have 4 companies that I'm trying to move up the rankings in SEO to all be number one. Now there's a conflict of interest, right? So, a digital marketing company should look at and say, you guys are based out of the east side, you guys are based out of the west side, you're in the north area, and you're also in the north area. So between the two of you, I'm going to go with the person that came to us first, and I'll call you if they drop. But the other 3 of you, I can say I can work with you because legitimately you're not really targeting the same primary areas on the map. Like, you remember the visual that we had of a map here, right? So if you look at this here on the map, right, like Grotzky's and word of mouth, they're not competing really from a local marketing standpoint, right? So we might look at those two, and unless both of them were, multi-regional businesses, we would have no problem with it, right? But yes, it's something you should ask every digital marketing company. And the bigger the marketing company is, the less they're gonna have any kind of restrictions on that. Smaller companies will say, no, we only work with one in each city. That's what you'll see. Any other questions? Okay. Everything that I showed you today was free, something that you can do, except for the magnets where you'd have to pay a little bit or, produce printing. I even have, if you want to have leave behind postcards on my list up there, or if you want to get one from me, a place you can get 100 for free. Same thing with your business cards, 100 for free. Everything else is free. It's for you guys to take, use, and grow. And then, you know, at some point when you guys are ready to go to the next level, then you start bringing in professionals. But until that point, there's so much that you can do on your own to really get up and going. All right. All right, great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.